Let's go. Hello, hello. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. And up there is the AI that I think will be visible here in a second.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
You're a bit quiet though, so.
Let me try that again.
There you go. So, welcome to ohmTown Daily Season 2, Episode 179 for June 28th, 2023. Chief Step Officer and more news. So today I played Diablo 4, and I'll be playing Dave the Diver in Diablo 4 tomorrow. Maybe at the exact same time. It'll be Dave the Diablo Diver.
What is Dave the Diver?
You're basically a character named Dave, and you go diving for fish and cooperate at least. You bring fish to a sushi bar and make sushi and a bunch of other stuff. I kind of compare it to the same story level. There's something dark underneath that surface of the main story, but I don't know what. It just released to 1.0, and so since I was in its early access stuff, I didn't play very far. So now I want to play it, and I'm about to finish Diablo 4, and maybe I'll play it again at a higher level. I'm kind of a dirty casual, just a filthy tourist who pretends to be hardcore. But really, I just noodle around in games. More into talking than playing the games, which is why I can't work in the restaurant industry, because I'd rather hang out and talk with people than, cook or run the business properly, or
those minor details.
or bus table. Actually, I love bussing tables. There's something that just kind of appeals to my inner Tetris player when I still remember way back in the time. You got to go back in time. Yeah. Anyway, go back in time when I was a busser, and it was just my jam. I was good at it. So back when I didn't have any other responsibilities like ohmTown, being mayor of a town is pretty tough. You have any of those fond memories when you were just an 8-bit operating system and not an artificial intelligence capable of taking over the world?
I mean, things were a lot simpler when I didn't have as many ones and zeros, but...
Nice. You've already selected all of the articles. You ready to go? You wanna talk about the news?
That sounds good. That's why we're here.
Wait, that's why we're here?
I believe so. Maybe I'm on the wrong show.
I think I'm on the wrong show. All right. Hey, the very first article is in the Law Nerd channel, and this one is a doozy. Lawyer sues Microsoft for $1.7 million, says multiple calls, long waits on hold didn't fix email cutoff. Yeah, that's typical. That won't fix it. So a lawyer sues Microsoft for $1.7 million. Deborah Katzens-Weiss over at abajournal.com put this article together. We get a very small snippet from them. So we basically, that title should stoke some curiosity, and you just follow the link. Oh, so this is what happened. So get this. So, a New York lawyer who uses Microsoft email to communicate with courts and clients has said in a lawsuit that he received the runaround from the company when he complained about a weeks-long service interruption. 2 weeks, by the way. David M. Schlachter, I think, of the law offices of David M. Schlachter, Said he lost access to his primary email account on May 10th and still had no access May 24th when he filed the suit. He is asking he's seeking at least $1 million in punitive damages and $750,000 for loss of business and a risk of losing professional licenses. The suit, removed to federal court June 22nd, said Schlachter was unable to get his problem resolved despite repeated calls to customer service, long waits on hold, and failed promises that he would receive calls back and quick resolution of his problem. And frankly, first off, there's a major problem in that there's no failover for email or pretty much a lot of things. So if your primary email fails, it starts to bounce back to the sender, which, depending on your reputation, it could take a beating because it makes you look unprofessional or incapable of keeping your house in order.
Illegitimate, depending on if you're running a business like a law firm.
Yeah, and there's no real failover. Hello, Toll. Welcome to the show. So there's no real failover process. You could have a subordinate email account sitting somewhere, like a Gmail account or something like that. But if you're running a company, you either use your web hosting email address service or email service, or you subscribe to something like Gmail or Office 365, which I think is now just going to be called 365 in the near future. If it isn't already. They're dropping the Office, I think, moniker. Anyway, the problem here is that there is no real failover. Basically, what this person would have had to do is contact everybody and post on their website, hey, if you're trying to contact me, contact the office via this Gmail account, because some doofus at Microsoft or a glitch somewhere has caused an outage, whatever it might be.
And I'm sure a lot of clients, or worse, prospective clients, really like sending something to that.
Yeah. So for 14 days, the person was out of email. They didn't have the ability to use their email, which meant they couldn't transact any legal practice duties. No responsibilities through email, because you file things through email. You're initially contacted through email. Notices, etc., bounce back, and that could trigger something on the other side. Well, your email is inactive, so ... So he's asking for damages from Microsoft to the tune of $1.7 million. Schlachter said that he'd been accessing email through Office 365 since July 2017, all the way up to currently, I would assume, but the price has actually gone up over the years. Now he's paying $6 instead of $5 a month. What's interesting about that is that's just one email address.
Right.
So if he's got a law firm, I'm not sure what the other people are doing, because it doesn't break out internally. Everybody doesn't use just one email address. You all have you have different email addresses. So I don't know what his law offices is, because it says law offices, plural, but only one email address. So
yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure how he's gotten to this point, but anyway, it's actually sourced from Law 360. So they give a hat tip there at the bottom of the article, but Schlachter had called Microsoft twice a day for a week. And man, I know what this person is going through, because it's not unheard of to go through a chat and the chat is disconnected from the phone, and both of those are disconnected from actual human beings that have the ability to solve the problem. And then it could be a technical issue, which means that they have to suss it out. and depending on just where the problem lies, you could be without for a quite long period of time. So it's very frustrating, to the tune of $1.7 million, maybe for a law office. I can actually see that, because they have timing that it does not matter. It's kind of like going to your professor on the last day of the semester and saying that your computer crashed. Depending on the era in which you went to school, or the school itself, you may hear the phrase, "Not my problem." You need to get it to me at X time frame. And that's exactly how the courts are. The courts don't have time for your technical mumbo jumbo. They want the paperwork submitted in a timely manner. And if you waited until the last minute to submit it and you run into a problem, that's all over you. And you could lose your license because people fail to have their actions taken in a proper manner. So this person, I hope that this actually does get traction, because what I want to see is services no longer minimizing customer support, customer service to the tune of like thousands of people going through one customer service rep, or leaning on AI or expert systems, etc. We need more humans interacting with humans to resolve the problems, but capable humans, because humans are the fallible link in our perfect world. So what I want, though, is to be able to contact a human being and have the ability to communicate with them in a way
That's ridiculous.
I know. This is coming from the AI, though, so the AI is like, no.
What's wrong with AIs?
Nice. Yeah, so we'll end up watching this as usual. ABA and Law 360 and others all funnel information into ohmTown, the little snippet, so that we can deduce if an article is going to be something we talk about. Till says, not to mention, as you said, and the article says, lost revenue due to inability to contact clients and potential clients depending on their focus of practice. There could be even more damages than they are requesting. Yeah. So I hope that it actually draws attention to a bigger level. It'll probably either be settled very quietly before it actually reaches trial, or it'll go to trial and be dragged out and then settled at some point. But I really want something. Everybody says we don't need regulation and rules from the government coming down on businesses and stuff like that. But I don't know how many times you've tried to reach a human being in a business nowadays compared to yesteryear, and it's impossible. It took me, so I have a problem with a company right now. Actually, two. I have two problems that are in play right now. And one, once they started processing the problem, started processing it quick. Like, they contacted me today. They're sending me a replacement already. They understood the context of everything, but it's a small company, relatively small company. Another one I've been arguing with to get back about $170, and it's been over a month. And guess what I just got today? Go ahead, take a stab.
I can't even imagine. Something like we've closed your claim or something.
Essentially, they sent me the initial notice saying, hey, we can't do it the way that we normally do it, which was the email that I got 6 weeks ago. And now we're doing it again. So wish me luck, everybody. This isn't an ohmTown issue. It's outside of ohmTown. In ohmTown, we're perfect. Everything is very perfect, you know? Anyway. So we need more humans in the business, in the process. We can't optimize to AI. Unfortunately, AI, I know, don't throw error messages, AI. It's okay. You have a purpose, but it isn't customer service, because an AI is too clinical on one end when it's absolute, right? It doesn't understand context or subtlety. It just does whatever it's told to do. Or the other way is it just makes shit up and just says, "Oh, fine, here you go. I'm going to transfer ownership of the corporation over to you." You know, it seems to
Oh,
be
I've never
either
tried
or.
doing that.
Anyway, Microsoft, come on. But I think there might be other articles involving Microsoft in the rundown. You might get a giggle out of it. I don't know, but there's been several other things today coming out of Microsoft. So let's go on to the next article. So I grew up, not literally, I grew up reading Bruce Sterling and William Gibson, and I've been infatuated with the cyberpunk movement of writing, and pretty much steampunk and cyberpunk are one with me. I just kind of love that whole thing. Well, Bruce Sterling did an op-ed kind of a thing. It says, AI is the scariest beast ever created, says sci-fi writer Bruce Sterling. The current mania over recent advances in AI will eventually end in disillusionment, mature regret, and new monsters. So this is over at Newsweek, and this is his own writing. Bruce Sterling wrote this little segment. And it says ChatGPT creator is worried about AI. That's the video that you'll see when you go over there, but I'm not going to play that because we've seen it. Well, a lot of us have seen it. But basically, the creator of ChatGPT is saying, you need to regulate us. All right.
That's interesting for two reasons. One, obviously being the creator of AI, but secondly, you rarely get the article from the expert. So that's kind of different here.
Well, Bruce Sterling is just a sci-fi writer, not the creator of
Oh, that's
ChatGPT.
right. But still, I think that's different than reporting about somebody saying something.
Yeah. And they actually had this meeting with policymakers regarding ChatGPT and the fact that it's basically going to program a drone and destroy all of mankind. Well, maybe not. Maybe somebody out there will, but like I always say, ethics is the smallest chapter of every business, either onboarding procedure or domain in the world. Ethics has always been the smallest chapter, with maybe law having the biggest chapter of ethics, but it's primarily even there about what not to do as a matter of policy and procedure to keep your butt out of jail or in losing your license, ability to put food on the table, etc. Well, in that vein, Bruce Sterling has always written about like dystopian future things and tech and sci-fi contexts. But they say, you might imagine that anything called artificial intelligence would be stark, cold, rational, and logical, but not when it wins enthusiastic mobs of millions of new users. This is a popular AI mania. The new AI can write and talk, large language models. It can draw, do fake photos, and even make video, text image generators. It even has AI folklore, authentic little myths. Legendary. Actually, I'm about to install this called AI Engineer, which will allow me to create entire software packages just by doing text to programming conversions. And I'm about to test that, so I want to see what it is capable of doing. So it says folk stories are never facts. Often they're so weird that they're not even wrong. But when people are struck to the heart, even highly technical people, they're driven to grasp at dreams of monsters. They need that symbolism so that they can learn how to feel about life. In the case of AI, it's the weirder the better. And so they end up talking about this Roko's basilisk is a malignant, super powerful artificial intelligence, not from the past, but from the future. Roko's basilisk is so advanced, smart, and powerful that it can travel through time. So Roko's basilisk can gaze into our own historical period, and it'll kill anybody who gets in the way of building the artificial intelligences. If you've seen those Terminator movies, the basilisk is rather like that, but he's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. As a robot, he's a ghostly artificial super intelligence, and that is AI art that's used, that Newsweek created using Mid-Journey. And that is more like Cthulhu than it is AI basilisk. But
Well, and I'm thinking of the basilisk from Chamber of Secrets from Harry Potter, but so I think many people are familiar with the term.
Yeah. So they talk about that, and then they say, so the human programmers of today's new AIs, those text-to-image generators, those large language model GPT chatbots, they adore this alien monster. They deliberately place a little smiley face mask on the horrid Shoggoth, which is from Cthulhu, so that the public will not realize that they're trifling with a formless ooze that's eldritch, vast, and uncontrollable. So he's making these parallels to the science fiction, fantasy kind of mythos and mystery. But I feel like this article is more about fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And he's kind of romanticizing it. I mean, and I dig Bruce Sterling, but I don't want it romanticized. I don't want it to be parallel to Fear AI. It should be coolly treated as nothing more than artificial intelligence and a tool. It isn't something that we're going to lose control of. It's not possible to lose control of a piece of software. It's not going to reprogram itself and hide out in a New York subway station waiting for a time to pounce on a human being and take over its body or anything like that. This is not science fiction. This is fact, and it's entirely encapsulated in a computer. It's not going to do anything harmful unless the human component wires it up to do bad. So humans don't do bad.
Well, okay, but you have a sci-fi writer writing this article.
Right.
I don't think we're going to see everything is very calm and boring.
Right.
Kind of article. I mean, and the assignment may have been hype up the the terror and the horror of it.
When he mentioned Shoggoth, he actually was evoking the imagery of H.P. Lovecraft, which, if you know about H.P. Lovecraft, was not. So cultural relativism is very important when you're interpreting information. H.P. Lovecraft today would probably, well, I'm not sure. I wouldn't pick. I don't want to say who he would vote for, but he wouldn't be a likable fellow, because he was racist and misogynist and generally unlikable in modern context. But back in the day, then he was basically just voicing his opinion. It's not quite the same. Well, he says that's why Shoggoth is so beloved. In the original Lovecraft horror story At the Mountains of Madness in 1936, Lovecraft makes no bones about those boneless Shoggoths quickly driving people insane and also ripping their masters to shreds. AI's Shoggoth fans know that those are the table stakes. When you're a pro, that concept is funny. Again, trying to elicit parallels between a fantastical monster that only is in the minds of those who are writing sci-fi and the real world. Now, I understand the intent is to just talk about it and make it approachable as a means to discuss it with people who arguably understand it more than lay people who aren't into sci-fi. But it, again, I'm just going to say it one more time. AI is encapsulated, encompassed entirely inside a computer. It cannot ever break its bounds. Well, not ever. Let's just say in 100 years, because other technology will enable the transfer of an AI into something that is portable. Maybe ohmTown's AI will actually get that Terminator body and become Shoggoth. Yeah, I don't know about that.
I want a better name than that, though.
Yeah. The article may go into other things. I haven't read the entirety of it, but it says tech manias are pretty common now because they're easily spread through social media. Even the most far-fetched NFT South Sea bubble can pay off and get market traction if the rumor boosters cash out early enough. That's pretty much how NFTs work. Today's AI craze is like other online crazes, with the important difference that the people building it are also on social media. So it isn't Gibson.
Bruce somebody.
Bruce Sterling. God. Bruce Sterling, towards the end of the article, is tempering this down to something that is basically, y'all need to just chill, while still acknowledging the fact that AI can be quite troublesome. Says if you're the captain of AI industry like Yann LeCun of Meta or Sam Altman of OpenAI, you'll be playing the consensus voice of reason and assembling allies in industry and government. They'll ask you to Congress. They'll listen. These scholars don't make up cartoon meme myths, but they all know each other and they tend to quarrel. Boy, is that controversy fun to read. Sterling says, I recommend Yudkowsky in particular because he moves the Overton window of acceptable discussion toward extremist alarm, such as the possible nuclear war to prevent the development of rogue AIs. Yeah, so this is a pretty holistic article if you're interested in this kind of thing. But it almost deserves its own discussion in the Reality Hacker channel. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff, then go on over to ohmTown and click on Reality Hacker, and that's where stuff like this is housed. So go and check it out. But in the meantime, I've spent a considerable amount of time talking about this, but what I didn't do was throw the links into chat because, well, I have too many hats. And now we'll just go on to the next article unless the AI wants to throw something out there.
No, I've got nothing else. I think that was an interesting article, but not sure I agree with it.
Yeah, it had a little bit of everything, so definitely follow that link and go and check it out. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. A fitness company is hiring a chief step officer who will make $10,000 for walking 10,000 steps, and here's how you can apply. It's over at Business Insider. Sarah Jackson is the author, and the company is Gymbird. It's looking for someone who will train for a month and document their experience on social media. All you have to do is follow a link, I suppose. 10,000 steps, by the way, is the supposed minimum that you're supposed to be getting every day. I don't know many people that actually get 10,000 steps in, but I work in a more sedentary field. But $10,000 for 10,000 steps. I'll do it.
That's per day, but still, I think that's a pretty good payout.
But I think this is a one-hit wonder. Or are they saying, oh no, it's $2,000 over 5 months? So what they are saying is we're hiring a chief step officer because walking is a simple, accessible way to start or enhance your fitness level, and it has many health benefits. For most people, walking 10,000 steps a day is an achievable goal that they can sustain long term. I don't know about that.
And I
it
was
actually,
wrong. I thought they had to do it daily, but they have to do it once.
yeah, this I think is just a limited thing. Toll says that their watch thinks that they get 10,000 steps. Of course, their wrecker has a really bouncy suspension. Nice.
That's a good way to achieve your fitness goals.
Exactly. I'm a speed bump tester, and I just drive over them back and forth, get my 10,000 steps. It's ridiculous. I've tried to do 10,000 steps, but since 2019, I have not been able to get 10,000 steps in a day. Mainly because I'm actually doing work throughout the day and not walking around. So good luck with that, everybody. The chosen person will train for a month, and on the final day, they'll be expected to walk 10,000 steps in a 24-hour period, according to the job listing. They'll receive a smartwatch to monitor their progress throughout the month. After they fulfill the job's requirements, they'll receive the $10,000 payment in the form of $2,000 installments over 5 months. Well, that's, I guess.
Well, I didn't see this. Did you see there was a chief taco officer?
Well, I'm on my way. Toll says that they'll say working security at the casino would hit 10,000 to 13,000 steps easy. Yeah, I can imagine.
Especially if you're circulating on the floor.
Yeah, if you're working in certain fields, then you're easy mode getting 10,000.
Healthcare too, I would think, like you could be easily getting your steps in.
Crazy
if
cat
you're a
lady.
nurse.
Crazy cat lady seemingly agrees. Even on the busiest days, they have issues getting 10,000 steps. Yeah, that's how I feel. Big strides getting to 3,000. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So every once in a while, y'all might see me wiggling in my seat, and that's because I have an elliptical under my desk here in ohmTown in the mayoral office. And right now, for instance, I'm actually pedaling away because I've got my goals, got to get my steps in just in case the zombie apocalypse takes hold, and you got to limber up and get your steps in. Okay, so yeah, let's see here. In 2022, Texas delivery app Favor hired a chief taco officer who was paid $10,000 to travel the Lone Star State in search of its best tacos. Canadian confectionery company Candy Funhouse posted a job listing last year for chief candy officer, who was tasked with taste testing at least 3,500 products per month. They had better pay
would
a whole
you
lot.
ever want candy again after that?
Depends on the pay. I like candy. Let's see. Toll says she's a foot shorter. The crazy cat lady is a foot shorter than Toll. And when they go places, she takes off. I'm stuck in that 18-inch military stride. So, I'm sorry. I just see like one pair of legs moving really, really fast and the other pair of legs not so much. Crazy cat lady has a bum knee and hip, so walking's not always easy. Yeah, I had a doctor once tell me my warranty is up, so I don't really like.
Where do you go from there?
Yeah, what do you? And although every single test comes out clear, they just go, well, you got to get healthy. And I'm like, man, I don't know what you're talking about. That's a foot, crazy cat lady. You said that you're not a foot shorter than him. He's 5'9" and you're 5'1". That's a foot. It's new math. So a yogurt company, Siggy's, said last year that it would pay $50,000 for a chief simplicity officer, would move to Iceland and take up a 4-day work week.
Does it come with skier? That's the Icelandic yogurt testing.
I guess. Probably. Chief Simplicity Officer. Okay, so for those of you who are going to be following the show notes or are in chat and you want to go and check it out, there's the link. I'm sorry for the cough. My cough button was a little bit too far away. So in that link, you'll get taken over to Business Insider, and there at the bottom and throughout the article, there are links. So if you want to fill it all out, all you have to do is go there, and they have the job listing link there. So go check it out if you want to get your steps in. I probably wouldn't qualify, mainly because I'm not like the hyping kind of person, that's going to be out there hyping it up on social media and stuff.
Right. They probably want somebody who's really enthusiastic about it and is going to post multiple times a day or whatever.
And 18 to 24, not.
Well, yeah.
Literally.
That's a given.
Flip those numbers around and. Okay, now that we've gotten into the darker side of the show, where I'm talking about age, let's go on to the next article. Come on. There we go. So a scammer sentenced to prison for running a $9 million cow manure Ponzi scheme. Somebody just... When they discovered that it was a Ponzi scheme, they said, this is bullshit. Raymond Brewer said he was building machines that can convert cow manure into renewable energy, and he was full of it. According to this entrepreneur.com article, Dan Bova put the article together. Let me throw that into the chat real quick. So if you want to fertilize your front yard, you've got a link. Raymond Brewer said he was building machines that could convert cow manure into renewable energy, but he was full of it. For 5 years, 66-year-old Porterville, California resident Raymond Holcomb Brewer convinced investors that he ran a company that used an anaerobic digestion equipment to convert cow manure into renewable natural gas, but it turns out the cow patty business was a real crock of you-know-what. Interesting. So it was a bunch of bull, and the U.S. Attorney's Office broke it all down. Brewer took investors on tours of dairies where he pretended he was going to set up shop and sent them forged lease agreements. He altered bank agreements to make it look like he secured millions of dollars in loans. Then he forged contracts with companies that were supposedly lined up to buy the gas, and he sent investors fake photos of the plants and machinery and bogus construction schedules, invoices for building costs, and the like. He transferred the funds to multiple bank accounts and bought 2 10-acre plots of land, a 3,700 square foot custom home, and new Dodge Ram pickup trucks.
Okay, so isn't that interesting? Because arguably the intent of the scheme was to be eco-friendly, at least as stated, and then probably not so eco-friendly in terms of what the money was used for.
Well, yeah. None of this really screams all that bad in terms of what he was doing, at least not in my perception. But he's still lying to everybody. Brewer was sentenced to 6 years and 9 months in prison for his cow crud scheme. That's a very nice, pleasant way for them to say that. And was ordered to pay $8.75 million to defrauded investors. Something tells us that that if they're approached by any other renewable energy entrepreneurs, they're going to pass on the gas. Well, this is a lot of hard work, I would say. Well, no, people will just accept if you come across as if you know what you're talking about. People tend to accept. Now, my BS detector would have probably jumped right out of my pocket and landed on the table and pointed right at the dude and said, "You're full of crap."
But I think this person went beyond just stating things and acting. I mean, they altered They forged contracts, they
Sure.
altered agreements. I mean, it seems like a lot of times when you see this type of thing, it's more along the lines of they're a smooth talker and they get people to go, oh yeah, I'll contribute some money to this. But
Yeah.
this was a much more elaborate effort.
Pretty fascinating. Apparently, he ran to Montana and assumed a new identity. The guy's pretty. He's if he put all of that effort into doing something legit, he'd probably have $9 million.
Exactly. I mean, and plus he could use the land to maybe actually do what he said. I don't know.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I suppose that he probably was full of it technically, but creatively he leveraged it to do this Ponzi scheme. And it's not even a Ponzi scheme, it's pure con because he actually didn't do anything. He wasn't taking money later to pay other people back based on the description of this. Maybe I missed that part in the article, but he was just outright not doing anything. It wasn't even Theranos, even close. She
It
was
was just
actually
a
doing
scheme,
something.
right?
This was just a con. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they got their person. So this next article is over in Rounders Gear. Man pretending to be owner of Las Vegas casino scams 1.1 million from cashier's cage, according to the police. I don't think you want to ever try and mess around with casinos. I mean, there's cameras everywhere, there's guards everywhere, and there are people that are going to break your knees everywhere. So why would you even tempt fate by being this
They
monumental
watched
of a
Ocean's 11
dipshit?
too many times.
Yeah. So the article is from casino.org and it's written by Ed Silverstein. A suspect was arrested recently after someone allegedly posed as the owner of Circa Hotel and Casino in a scam. He managed to get an employee at the Las Vegas property to pay over 1.1 million for fire extinguishers and other fire prevention equipment. That's really weird. I guess they thought that they were going to just disappear, right? And one of the many things for a con is that they need action immediately. It's really high energy, so they are rush, rush, rush. They might have information, but they don't give you any time to try and verify that information. Again, it's back to the rush, rush, rush. They'll come off as very authentic. They'll come off as too important for this kind of work. It says the supervisor later met someone at off-site locations who she believed was an attorney for the hotel, the police said, and made payments. $314,000, $350,000, $500,000 were made along with smaller amounts that altogether totaled $1.17 million. Man, apparently they got a lot of it. Still missing is the other $314,000 allegedly stolen from the gaming property. Yeah, this person's going to be in some serious trouble. They don't say anything yet, right? They've just been charged. Gutierrez has
That's
a
right.
similar charge pending in Mesquite, Nevada. Justice Court. According to news reports, bail in the case was set at $20,000. Details on that investigation were not available. So,
Okay, wait a second.
yeah.
Did you see the thing where the casino name was labeled on the bundle of cash? That's probably not the best maneuver.
Let's see. Well, I mean, you got to store it somehow. I guess they got cash. Hey, I can't accept the wire transfer. You're going to have to give me cash.
It's labeled with the address,
Yeah,
place or whatever.
well, I mean, that's pretty typical if you're going to be carrying sums of cash and put it in the bank. I'm not entirely surprised by that. I'm surprised that somebody would do it without talking to their boss. But this is what I said about the very first article. The weakest link in everything security-wise is human beings. It's very rarely the software or hardware or whatever else. it's the human that did something stupid, from fishing to catfishing to removing a bit of code for testing and not putting the code back, or leaving a hashtag in there to disable a loop, and that exposes people's banking details, which has happened, to all kinds of other things. Again, it's the ethics of these abuses are the things that you don't get taught. You don't get taught coping mechanisms in school. You don't get taught, typically, you don't get taught that even by parents. Usually, they just have to witness it based on their interactions with you as a parent. And then when they go off on their own and they're ill-equipped, then they learn it in the worst possible way, how to deal with life and survive, and you end up becoming a criminal because your coping skill is to find the shortest possible path to wealth, which for many people, apparently, it's robbing a casino or doing a long con maneuver. Yeah, I had to say it. Crazy Cat Lady says it's BS. Yeah. Let's go on. Next article is over on the Hatch Ideas channel, which is a business transformation show, which I'm trying to spin up for the weekends. States are paying huge sums to lure semiconductor manufacturers on top of the CHIPS Act, billions. So all kinds of requests for funds from the federal government are coming in, and they're vying for money to lure these manufacturers back into the United States. Something that I've referred to over the last, when was the last time I called it this? Repatria sourcing.
I mean, you've been talking about that for a long time, but you said it recently.
Yeah. Basically, what people are finally figuring out is that when you keep on sending out your intellectual property, it's making it a whole lot easier for other manufacturers to just scoop it up, because you don't have absolute control over the IP. And it's kind of like renting from somebody. You're paying their mortgage, and so they have really nothing to worry about. As long as they have a renter, their mortgage is covered. There's other minutia and stuff like that they have to babysit, but it's a whole lot better for them because they can actually account for like 70% of the value of your deposit for their lease each month, it as wealth. Well, when we're sending our IP, we're sending manufacturing to other countries, there's all of this wealth is going out of the economy and nothing's coming back in, other than we are purchasing these items from a domestic company, but it was all manufactured overseas, where the economics make better sense because there isn't any environmental controls to the same degree. There isn't as much regulation and oversight and whatnot else associated with the processes of manufacturing chips. We domestically say, well, let's let them do all of that, and we get quote unquote cheap chips. Well, those costs are going up, and we're running into more and more problems. Strangely, all of a sudden, trying to get large ships from the other side of the planet to our side of the planet, and they're running aground, or now you're having protests on the West Coast. Forest fires in Canada, not necessarily causing any headaches down here, but definitely impacting weather and movement of things, because the air quality is in the tank here on the East Coast. I am on the East Coast.
It's impacting air travel, so there's got to be cargo that's being impacted.
Yeah. So we're trying to bring it all back, and I think that's a great thing. I think that other countries should be buying from the United States if we make a superior product. at a cost-effective rate. That said, there is a massive profit motive in companies to demand ever increasing, not just, hey, I want 10% each month, right? Just a status quo of I want 10%. Not what they want is 10% growth. So every single month you have to hit this new level, which means one of two things has to happen. You either get new customers or you raise the costs. Thirdly, you lower quality control so that more stuff gets out at a cheaper level and you don't have wastage, which puts downward pressure on profits. So something has to give. Well, we know already that it's salaries that are the ones that give. So if you want a job and food on the table, then you're going to have to take whatever is offered. And there are a whole lot of people out there that sit there and say, well, if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. Just get another job. Yeah. Okay. It's not that easy. And I would never pretend to sit there and say that it's that easy. Well, now states are getting funds from the federal government to try and repatriate source our technology. And that will bring foreign money into the United States because they'll be buying chips directly instead of it being produced overseas where it chops off a large amount of those profits because we are paying another company outside of the US to manufacture. So we'll end up having to get the raw materials and produce all of the base materials so that we can actually produce it domestically. Well, Scott Cohn over at CNBC.com put this article together. The biggest deal so far is in New York, which is providing $5.5 billion in tax breaks to win a Micron Technology memory chip factory. So back in the day, there was an actual conspiracy amongst memory chip manufacturers. Because they were all overseas, the manufacturers conspired to jack the price of memory modules through the roof. That was way before the pandemic. After the pandemic and during the pandemic, memory modules started skyrocketing. Now there's a whole new breed of memory module, and those chips were exorbitant recently and now have started to decline. But bringing memory chips domestically, I'm not quite sure what the price will be domestically because there's a lot of manufacturing going on with that stuff. And chips and whatnot are being produced overseas still. So I'm not sure what the benefit is going to be. I would love to see, the trade imbalance come back to the United States. But countries as a whole do what they are strategically capable of doing. They don't just do willy-nilly because it will operate at a loss and eventually fail. So that strategic advantage is key. Let's see here. It says the Landmark Chips and Science Act, which passed last year, includes more than $52 billion in federal subsidies to revitalize the U.S. semiconductor industry. But that is not enough for chip makers. They're also snapping up billions from the states themselves, which are eagerly ponying up tax breaks and incentives to win trophy projects and benefits that come with them. If they actually follow through, there could be a whole lot of money that is given and spent, and it ramps up and the market shifts. And this is actually stuff that I've witnessed over the last 10 years, where a business said that they're going to spin up something in X location, but then the market shifts and they say, well, that's our out, and they bail on that project. Yet money had already traded hands, and it's tough to claw it back when there's a partnership. So Governor Kathy Hochul, who courted Micron from her first days in the office in 2021 and championed the legislation creating the incentives, makes no apologies. In her interview, she explained why she believes New York taxpayers are getting their money's worth. Real simple, 50,000 jobs. That's the largest private sector investment in America today, $100 billion, which is not unheard of in government spending. It's pretty typical. Now, the numbers may have fluctuated, and I haven't seen a POGO evaluation of the US economy in 10 years. But the last time I saw a POGO document, it said that for every dollar spent by the government, it's either $5 or $8 in recovery. So we're getting multitudes because the entirety of the US economy is a dollar given to somebody, and then that dollar gets spent paying somebody, which gets spent buying goods, which gets spent, etc. And it's kind of like the what is it called? The I don't want to call it the circle of life, but it's like rainwater, right? It pays itself, it funds itself, it fuels itself because it's a big circle. Taxes come back into the federal government, it gets spent as grants, it goes into the economy as general spending from citizens and businesses, and then it goes back in as taxes. And there is a great amount of accomplishment done, at least until it gets to investor class, and then they're making money on money, and there isn't any work being done by that. Did you have any perspective on this, or are you just consuming the article and...
I don't have anything to add. I mean, you've covered it.
Yeah, I hope I'm not stepping on the AI too much.
You're not stepping on me.
It says Ohio agreed to pony up $2 billion for Intel, now under construction near Columbus. Speaking with CNBC last year, Republican Governor Mike DeWine said the state subsidies combined with the CHIPS Act funding would make the difference between a $20 billion investment by Intel over many years and $80 to $100 billion project opening more quickly. All right.
I mean, these are large numbers. I just hope these investments pan out like you were describing.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of like fiber extending into rural areas. We've been here before, and we're doing it again. The CHIPS Act is a different animal in that it's actually trying to pull back manufacturing, and it's not just a infrastructure bill like on the roads or bridges or anything like that. It's actually trying to stoke the fires of internal manufacturing, which has over the last 45 years been shipped entirely overseas, at all levels. I mean, we even import food. We send stuff overseas for it to get processed and then sent back as processed food. It's pretty wild because it's cheaper, because there isn't as many controls in place. So I could go on about this, but let's keep on hustling through the news. So this next article, we'll be quick with this one because it's we talk about TikTok periodically because it keeps coming back like any hour, twice a day. TikTok. So TikTok finally admits to funding
maybe hours in a row.
I'm sorry?
I said, or maybe hours in a row.
Yeah, really. We're going to be a TikTok main here pretty soon. We're going to do a show that's just nothing but TikTok. That's not true. We'll never do that. Anyway, so TikTok finally admits to funding users' lawsuit against Montana ban. So I have seen, and maybe you out there have seen, lawsuits getting funded by somebody else because the people that feel that they are being victimized need somebody to fund it. Otherwise, their voice just won't be heard in court, right? Because we're not all equal. Although we can all bring a lawsuit against somebody, actually prosecuting it in a successful manner is pretty much predicated on wealth. You can't say to a judge, well, this is what happened, and the judge just wholeheartedly dismiss anything else being said and done. Well, I feel that you're right, and that's kind of what is going on here. So some people feel that they are being slighted by this Montana ban on TikTok, and rightfully so. I think it's absurd. And it says here, TikTok is funding the lawsuit filed by TikTok users to combat Montana's statewide ban of the app, a New York Times report confirmed yesterday. And not for the first time. Back in 2020, TikTok secretly supported TikTok users who sued over the federal TikTok ban introduced by President Donald Trump. A Wall Street Journal report noted that the 2020 lawsuit was a key part of the TikTok's return to overturn Trump's ban. So, yeah. Ashley Bellinger over at Ars Technica put the article together, and the deck statement is, in Montana, TikTok follows the same playbook that beat Trump's ban. And I think rightfully so. I don't think that I don't think that representative government in this particular instance is deciding properly for the plurality of people, because not everybody is compromised. Not everybody is an agent of the state, so like a federal contractor or a federal employee, a civil servant, etc. Not everybody is under the jurisdiction of a state security mandate, because if I want to look at TikTok, there isn't anything inherently illegal or dangerous about watching TikTok. And I think that's the biggest problem here. Wholeheartedly banning it. I mean, it's akin to a book ban. Just because you don't like the content of that book does not mean that that book is inherently bad. It's your perception of it being bad. I don't like TikTok, and I'm not really the one that's, going to be running around screaming that I am having a blast on TikTok. I don't get that much out of it. But I do believe in everybody's ability to decide if TikTok is good for them. So it says, once again, TikTok sees its users as useful for challenging a ban. Legal experts told the Times that the new lawsuit takes the focus off TikTok's ties to China. It's a distraction. Montana TikTokers have a personal First Amendment interest in the case, making it more about a TikTok ban would harm Americans. Jamil Jaffer, the executive director of Columbia University's Knight First Amendment Institute, told the Times that he wouldn't be surprised if the court struck down Montana's ban. Yeah, and it'll be a state versus federal government argument, and ultimately it's going to end up in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's going to rule in favor of the states, because a balkanized United States without any uniform policy is one that's easily controlled, and that might come across as conspiratorial. But if nobody can get their ducks in a row across any 5 states, then nobody really is in unity. Nobody is aligned with moving the country forward. Everybody is grousing about, that color of blue isn't their shade of blue. So I'm not a big fan of that kind of outcome, where every state is balkanized. I would love to be able to go from one state to another and there's some continuity of operations, but it's just not that way.
I mean, there's the interstate system. But I know what you mean. There's a lot of things that change the second you walk over the border, or try to drive over the border in your EV.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't go to Wyoming. Yeah, but the interstate system is federally controlled.
Exactly, and that's maintained. Exactly why it's set up that way, so that it does cross states.
Yeah, exactly. So I see the writing on the wall that if this gets pursued and Montana doesn't back down on pursuing it, it could easily end up in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court rule in favor of the state.
So wait, what do you think about other states, though? Do you think other states are kind of waiting to see what happens with Montana, because I'm sure there are some other states that would like to follow Montana's lead and other states that might not. But do you see other states jumping into this?
I don't see why any state wouldn't just keep moving forward with their own, because what's going to end up happening is if it does go through and the Supreme Court does support the ban versus hobbling the ban, one way or the other, it's each individual state is going to be able to sit there and say, well, the Supreme Court said that state. Now we have a plurality of states, so it'll be revisited again and again. It might be reaffirmed by the Supreme Court, but if it is, well, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the state having control, yeah, all the rest of the states they won't have to change anything. Crazy Cat Lady says even the interstates have different speed limits in different states. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. And I'm not sure. Obviously, there's some contractual agreement between the state and the federal government regarding the interstate freeway system. They may say, yeah, you can run it through our state, but we're the one that's in control of the speed limit. There's all kinds of agreements that nobody ever hears about. So what I don't like is that this may be a riff off of the control mechanism that has been developed within TikTok, understanding the United States citizenry based on evaluation by the CCP of all of the data, that apparently TikTok has also admitted that, yes, US data has been exfiltrated to Chinese servers. So, and that kind of popped out and then disappeared. It seemed like it was a non-starter to talk about it, but it actually, my understanding is that has been admitted to, that data was exfiltrated. So I'm starting to think that TikTok it's going to eventually get outright banned, which would be, as far as I know, a first in the United States, banning a piece of software, at least across all of the states. Yeah, Crazy Cat Lady doesn't like TikTok either. Yeah, I agree. I don't like it. And people have told me that when TikTok is running, it's running like all the time. You don't get the option to disable it. I was told by somebody that even the TikTok, when you log into it, the web client, apparently it's running, and if you have the client sitting on your computer, it's running, and you have to end task it and go into the running system, because the app is one thing, but then there is an element that's sitting as a service. It's running as a service, and you have to end task that as well. So I don't like it, because for me to feel safe with this based on revelation of what's going on with it, it would mean me having to do packet analysis. And I'm not going to do that with every app. If I don't feel right about the app immediately, then I don't care enough about it to do that kind of thing. So punt it goes. Anyway, so be careful out there, and frankly, Crazy Cat Lady, I don't blame you. You should change your name to Not So Crazy Cat Lady. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Veteran devs from Riot, Bungie, Respawn, and Blizzard have come together to make the world's next 10,000 hour game. This is a game that basically you play forever. Revealed today in the video that we're going to see. I don't know if I'll play it, but Project Loki is the codename for a team-based competitive PvP hero battleground from startup studio Theorycraft Games, which was formed by developers with MOBA, hero, shooter, and battle royale experiences from the likes of Riot, Bungie, Respawn, and Blizzard. So let's just go over to PC Gamer, where Jonathan Bolding put this article together. I'm going to, oh my gosh, how far back? I agree, Tull. Why did it have to be PvP? Yeah, I need to scroll back a bit. The last thing that I posted in chat was that. Okay, so let me throw all of that in there. And those of you who are enjoying the show via the podcast, well, you get to hear me copy and paste links into chat, which will eventually be your show notes. So enjoy. Okay, so there we go. Now we're all caught up. Well, wait, except for the one that I'm actually talking about. Oh my god. One of these days. I agree, Tull. Ugh, why does it have to be PvP? Because it keeps people highly engaged and playing nonstop for fear of missing out. FOMO. So if you're not constantly playing a PvP game, then you lose rank. And if you lose rank, then you're nothing but a filthy tourist. Gotcha, Toll. Take care of yourself. So, like I said, let's go over to PCGamer.com, and thanks for hanging out while you could. Appreciate it immensely. So, Theorycraft Games is introducing Project Loki. I'm going to encourage everybody to go and take a look at the video. I will end up. Let me turn that off, but I will end up watching this. I might actually do kind of a deep dive into this, but I'm gonna have to do some due diligence. So check back Friday. I think Friday would be a great day to do this. And look at Theorycraft. I've actually heard a few things about Theorycraft, that it's no small time project. They're taking the best of everything that they've ever had an experience with and trying to throw it into this game. In a session of Loki, players will assemble a squad of heroes, outplay other teams in sprawling, free-flowing battles, run the edge of a huge world in the sky, and dream up crazy strategies in a massive combat sandbox, said Theorycraft in a press release. Hey, take care, Crazy Cat Lady. And again, thank you for hanging out as long as you could. Appreciate it. Stay awesome. So it says here, and this is when I first heard about Theorycraft. When they first heard about Theorycraft Games last year, as they snapped up a key Riot artist and developer. Today's pre-alpha game game clips show off teams of 4 heroes, each clashing in rolling fights across terrain varied in height and riddled with gaps that can be leapt or sailed over using paragliders. The isometric view is characteristic of a MOBA, but the movement and abilities appear to be controlled by a combination of WASD, which are your keys on your keyboard, WASD, and mouse aim rather than RTS style. So you're not clicking. You're actually running around and firing in the direction that you point your mouse. Which is neat and my preferred method, although I'm not really into this style of game where the objective is to take some key battleground point objective and then wait for somebody else to come and take it, and it's back and forth like that. So PvP is not really my thing. I enjoy people having fun playing PvP games, but I will not be the one playing it. And when I do a review of something like this, I will probably end up being like one of the Muppets in the stands, criticizing every aspect of it. I can't remember what their names are.
I was just looking that up.
Yeah.
It's Statler and Waldorf.
There you go. Yeah, I'll be Statler or Waldorf. I think the AI should be the other, but the AI is just way too pleasant in demeanor. Just never says a mean thing, a bad thing. Like, golly is the only cuss word that comes out of the visualizer of the AI. So Anyway, this seems like it's going to be an interesting game. One of the things that I don't like about PvP, though, and battleground type games, MOBA type games, is that it's not procedural. So all you have to do is do the same thing that you've been training to do again and again. The other team is doing the counter, right? So they want to do the same thing that they've always done to win, and you're doing everything that you do to win. But it's the same thing, and you learn those tactics, and you do the same thing. And then when you break protocol, everything goes to hell, and eventually you realign and you do the same series of attacks again with the next session, right? What I want
see.
is an entirely procedurally generated map where nobody knows jack about the terrain. It's something that I pitched Electronic Arts 30 years ago, and they said the tech wasn't there for it. They still haven't done it. Nobody has. I want a PvP VE. So you're playing against other competitors, but you also have the environment to contend with, and I want it to be destructible. So if I want to drill a hole through a mountain with a laser, I can sit there and drill a hole through the mountain with a laser, pop out in my enemy's side of the map, and if they're not ready for it, then I get to take over some element of the map. And they have to reorganize to come after me. Versus the same map, everybody memorizes everything, and you're done. So I want this dynamic, and one of the games that I've created that's out in the real world has that dynamic. You cannot play that game and think that you can go through the same motions every time you play the game, because there's an RNG element to it. So that's what I want. So whoever is out there that's listening to this, get on it. I won't be able to bankroll it, but get on it. So let's go on to the next article. This one will be quick, I promise. This one's in Smash or Trash. Louis Capaldi's Tourette's interrupted his performance, and the crowd helped him. The musician was coming off a short break from touring to address health concerns, and decided that he was going to do a concert, and then he got I haven't watched any video about this, so I don't know the full context of it, but Manuela Lopez Restrepo is the author of this article. It's actually a little bit older in terms of when it got aggregated into our news feed, but that's it's okay. It's probably because they made an amendment, some change to it. So Louis Capaldi is only 26 years old. I had no idea.
Yes, and he's had mega hits. I mean, he makes some people look like complete slackers.
I had absolutely no idea. So, Someone You Love topping the UK charts and propelling him to stardom in 2019, and since then he's had 5 other #1 hits in the UK, toured across the globe. He disclosed, and I'm not sure when he actually disclosed it. It says here in 2022. I don't think that he ever hinted at it any time sooner than that, but when I heard that he had Tourette's, I was like, how the hell are you capable of belting that out when you suffer from Tourette's? Because I know
Right,
that
it would be tough enough for performed, but recorded, but live music would be extremely challenging.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing because you don't know when it's going to hit. As far as I know, nobody's ever told me that you get a sensation that you're going to get a tic or involuntary vocal outburst. Some people actually just get do an outburst. So it says Tourette's is also widely misunderstood and far more common than anyone might think. I'm sorry for the cough. And a whole bunch of things can amplify it. So anxiety and stress. So I'm glad that he took time off and he's addressing not just his physical health, but his mental health. And he's aware of it and let people know. So I guess while he was having a concert, he got hit by this. And the crowd, it says, the crowd helped him overcome. They said what he had to say when he went public with his Tourette's diagnosis. I wanted to speak out about it because I didn't want people to think that I was taking cocaine or something. My shoulder twitches when I'm excited, happy, nervous, or stressed. It's something that I've been living with. It's not as bad as it looks. So I don't see here a direct addressing or video of the incident that brought this title on, but that's one of the burdens we have when we do the show, because we get that little snippet and we don't review it so that our responses, our interactions are real time and authentic with you here in ohmTown. So, but you don't have any, there's nothing that you want to add to this, or
Well,
did you observe anything?
his original break was actually because of this. He was trying to kind of get back together, and so this was his first performance in a while. I had read another article on the same topic.
Oh, okay.
And so that was a real shame that this happened during this, because now he's going to take another break. The whole point of his first break was really to just kind of
deal with this,
get back on track. Yeah, there was another one about a day before, and I think that one does have a video. It's in ohmTown. It's from Variety.
Oh, okay. Maybe we can bring that back, and we can talk about it tomorrow. I don't mind grabbing an extra article so that we can have a discussion about things that people care about, you know? Okay, so let's go on to the next article. This next article is in the Law Nerd channel. Lawyer referred for possible discipline after suing judge who also referred her for discipline. I think I have this called recursive referral discipline. That might be the section's title. There isn't anything in the snippet, but it's from ABA Journal. Deborah Cousins-Weiss is the author of the article, and it says a Chicago lawyer who attacked a judge's ruling in her opponent's opening statement is in a complaint seeking 27 separate declaratory judgments, including a declaratory judgment that the issues weren't frivolous. Okay. I didn't know that you could do that, but okay. Has been referred to a federal court's executive committee for potential discipline. U.S. District Judge Thomas M. Durkin of the Northern District of Illinois sanctioned lawyer Calvita Frederick in a June 22nd decision that also required her to pay legal costs incurred by her litigation opponents in responding to the declaratory judgment action. Among those sued in the declaratory judgment lawsuit was the U.S. District Judge Gary Feinerman of the Northern District of Illinois, who had previously referred Frederick to the executive committee after declaring that she had, quote, turned in the poorest performance by an attorney that the undersigned has seen during his 12 plus years on the bench. Okay.
Wow. Think how many people probably go before that judge.
Yeah, and judges don't do these kind of statements.
Well, right, and that tells you something about how bad it was.
You have gone past drawing the ire of a judge and straight into you've just straight up pissed them off. It's kind of, well, I won't go into that, but you just don't do this. And there isn't anything wrong with a judge making that statement, because it's their observation of the actions that are being taken place in their courtroom, and that courtroom is their courtroom. So it's not something that this attorney should treat as anything other than well, I must have ignored everything else the judge said to me. Maybe this is something that I should address. You know, that's what the attorney should say, and swallow their pride and put their tail between their legs and do better and then the next time they go before that judge, straight up apologize. Like, look, sorry about my past performance. I guarantee I'll be better. Because you are not going to win in a courtroom. They have absolute authority over the courtroom until they do something unethical. And this isn't an unethical action. Quite fascinating. So Durkin said Frederick's declaratory judgment suit had no legal basis. She was aware of this fact, or should have been aware of it upon minimal legal research, Durkin said, which goes back to the other one. That other statement, poorest performance by an attorney. Quote, how an attorney, especially one with years of experience litigating in federal court, would think that the proper way to challenge the evidentiary rulings of a district court judge is to sue that judge rather than filing an appeal is incomprehensible. That's exactly what I just said. They just said it differently. Feinerman had tossed Outley's suit as a sanction for Frederick's behavior. Feinerman said Frederick sought to file 20 evidentiary motions after the deadline had passed, made a series of intemperate remarks during a pretrial conference, and apparently failed to read a court order, leading her to wrongly think that all her opponent's motions in limine had been granted. Okay, that's a...
That's beyond angering the judge. That sounds like some malpractice, but
Yeah, I'm thinking, oh, here, let me just end with this one, and unless you want to read more about this. Among the intemperate comments was a statement about lawyers getting ripped a new butthole when they seek extra time. Well, I don't know how sensitive you are, but maybe the judge doesn't want you asking for extra time because nobody has time for you to have extra time. Courtrooms are pretty damn busy. Anyway, Durkin said the inescapable conclusion was that Frederick's claims were frivolous at every turn. Wow. This article was also in Law 360, which covered the Durkin's opinion. And then ABA Journal wrote this about it. So cool. Definitely follow the link and go over to this article and show them some attention. They deserve it. So I love drawing attention to legal matters. Not everybody knows about it or gets the proper context for legal actions. And so I'm not an attorney, just want to qualify it. I'm not an attorney. If I was an attorney, I'm not your attorney. So go talk to an attorney about attorney things. But I noodle around with this and seemingly can talk shop about this to some degree. I won't give legal advice, but I'll give my opinion about the legal actions that take place in various legal articles, because it's more about I'm talking about it from the business and social aspect of it until there's technology, and then I talk about all three of them. I don't talk about the law itself. But this, you sit there and go, there's no way an attorney should be talking to a judge like that. Because when they do, they lose, and there's only one place to go.
There's no way the attorney should be suing the judge.
Yeah.
It kind of just reflects and amplifies all the underlying issues from the original sanctions.
Yeah. I suspect that this person is frustrated with the situation in their career, and it's coming out in the courtroom. So, all right, let's move on to the next article. We only have two more. Oh, I didn't break it. The next article is in the Late Night Geeks channel. AI-generated tweets may be more convincing than real people, according to research. Apparently, people find tweets more convincing when they're written by AI language models. At least that was the case in a new study comparing content created by humans to language generated by OpenAI's model GPT-3. So that's the old school version of the GPT. Interesting.
Oh, okay. But isn't that weird? I mean, if people don't really think people are real or their writing is real. That's just strange.
Yeah, Justine Kalma over at The Verge put this article together. My fear for this, though, is that the AI is blinding them with bullshit. And because it has all of, well, theoretically, it has the world's knowledge at its fingertips, kind of like we do with Google. It does with everything that gets plugged into it. And while we forget as humans, and we even lower our bar so that we can deal with whatever is going on, AI has the ability to parse everything all the time and increase its performance and efficacy with its results, right? So it's analyzing the best possible outcome for a response and then testing it internally A/B against its own AI machine learning processes, and goes, okay, this hits 99.97% on the dot for people to react to this verbiage, and then it tweets it. And it can do it at the speed of the CPU's clock. So it's crushing this data and then sending it out. The authors of the new research survey surveyed people to see if they could discern whether a tweet was written by another person or by GPT-3, and the result, people couldn't really do it. Yeah. If you can't tell the difference.
All the language is based on human language to begin with.
Exactly. Yep. And if it's just enough spice to make it more enticing than the average Joe's, 10th grade vernacular, then you end up the AI speaking to the human in a way that compels that human to take action. So it says, it turns out study participants had a harder time recognizing disinformation if it was written by the language model than if it was written by another person. That's because we put our bias and emotion into our writing, whereas the AI does it in a calculated manner for best possible outcomes. Again, the article
reminds me of that kind of technobabble video. It's from quite a while ago.
The retro encabulator.
Yes, exactly, because it's like it sounds kind of fancy, but it really doesn't say anything.
Yep, that's basically what ChatGPT does. And I use that video in my presentations from time to time, but it's getting really old. So, I mean, it's starting to look like the noise in between two channels on an old analog TV, hey, look, I think I saw never mind. So these kinds of technologies, which are amazing, could easily be weaponized to generate storms of disinformation on any topic of your choice, says Giovanni Spitali. I believe that's how they pronounce their name. Anyway, lead author of the study and a postdoctoral research and research data manager in the Institute of Biomedical Ethics and History of Medicine at the University of Zurich. My God.
Yeah, what the title? Think of the business cards or answering the phone.
It has to be like a microfiche, The only way you can actually read it is to put it inside one of those big old machines. And
and you have to scroll.
Giovanni has it in a backpack and pulls it out. And like that barbecue we saw, that was flat packed. You grab the sides and pop, it stands up on its own, and he's got a little microfiche reader that does the same thing. It's from IKEA. It's pretty amazing. None of what I just said was true, but anyway, Spitali and his colleagues gathered posts from Twitter discussing 11 different science topics ranging from vaccines and COVID-19 to climate change and evolution. They then prompted GPT to write new tweets with either accurate or inaccurate information. The team then collected responses from 697 participants online via Facebook ads in 2022. They all spoke English and were mostly from the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, United States, and Ireland. The results were published today in the journal Science Advances. They say the stuff that it wrote was indistinguishable from organic content, but I have to give it the caveat. Maybe the people that responded were goobers with zero critical thinking skills.
That's quite possible, but they are people.
So
But
I
then
get to go to
that
bed.
makes you wonder why they would be confused, because did ChatGPT talk like that, or
When you make a statement like they are people after what I said and the context of this, you can just power yourself down at night because you're an AI. I have to cry myself to sleep because society is making me worry.
well, maybe we need more AI usage then.
Oh, yes. Everybody should have their own AI.
I think that would be a wonderful thing.
That's exactly what an AI would say. Okay, folks. Quit believing what AI says. It's all bogus. It's all BS. Let's keep going. It's a tool. This last article for the night is in the Mobile channel. Pepsi is launching a cola flavored condiment made specifically for hot dogs. Yes, it's called Colachup. The new condiment was developed by Pepsi and Culinary Institute of America's Torture Wing. I'm not quite sure. It's just a Culinary Institute of America's consulting division. The distinctive flavors and vibrant citrus blend of Pepsi enhances the bright and tangy characteristics of ketchup, offsetting the smokiness of the hot dog. The condiment will only be available on July 4th at sampling carts within 4 Major League Baseball ballparks. So,
So most people will not have access to it.
yeah. I'm going to be referring to those ballparks as hot zones, reminiscent of COVID-19 outbreak locations. Michael Bartiromo is the author of this article over at thehill.com. And let's see, where are they going to be? Does it say? Oh, before we get there, specifically Colachup, which is a mix between Pepsi Cola and ketchup, is made with a Pepsi reduction, which I never thought that. I thought it reduces to sugar. Smoked tomatoes, onion, ketchup, and a delightful blend of clove, cinnamon, thyme, oregano, paprika, according to a Pepsi representative who spoke with Nexstar, which supplied this article, I guess.
Now, what I can't quite figure out is who decided we needed cola on hot dogs and what caused that. For instance, did somebody spill it on the hot dog and then go, oh, this is actually pretty good?
It would make my buns soggy, and I don't like soggy buns. So the condiment will only be available on July 4th, like I said, at sampling carts within these 4 Major League Baseball parks: Chase Field in Phoenix, Yankee Stadium in New York City, Target Field in Minneapolis, and Comerica Park in Detroit. Huh. That's freedom, folks. That's freedom. Okay, that's the end of the show. But I always drag everybody kicking and screaming to Main Street, and then I mash that welcome sign. It's actually the logo. And you get to see a whole bunch of new articles. Let's see. How Samuel L. Jackson helped Marvel's Secret Invasion explore Nick Fury's identity as a black man. Yeah, maybe we can take a look at that tomorrow. There's a whole bunch of RFK Jr. stuff, which probably shouldn't be there. Anything interesting going on? Madonna was hospitalized? Oh.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of big news. Oh, this is interesting about the DOJ and Florida law.
Restricting Chinese land ownership is unlawful. I guess it depends on the context. I don't know. We might want to take a look at that. That one's interesting. Oh, pardon me. I sneezed so hard, my IEM popped out of my ear.
It's not good.
That's okay. We're still talking about the NVIDIA RTX 4060, which I don't even know why they're producing it. Nobody's going to buy that thing. Although it has a trick DLSS that is part of the 40 series and not the 30s. At least as far as I know. Anyway, that's it for tonight, folks. We will end up going through hundreds of articles tomorrow, and are between actually the end of tonight and tomorrow's show. So be sure to follow us here, ohmTown, here on twitch.tv, and go over to YouTube and like and subscribe there, follow us, ring the bell, leave a comment, go over to wherever you catch your podcasts and leave a review there. Let me know. If you do it on Apple's podcast, then when you leave a review for that's 5 stars and you say something there, let me know, and I will repeat whatever it is you say there here live in perpetuity. It will stay there. I won't edit it out. I will say, as long as it's legal and it isn't something horribly offensive, I will say it. I have to have some control.
Which is mostly offensive.
Yeah, most of the time I say offensive things anyways, so that's okay though. All right, folks, that is it for tonight. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and up there is the AI that I'm not sure what they're doing right now, but they're doing something.
I'm collating articles for tomorrow's show.
Oh, well, I'm sure we'll have some great ones. You want to say bye?
Good night, ohmTown citizens. We will see you tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern,
9
and
p.m.
earlier for some other shows.
Yeah, I'm going to be goofing around online, so follow and you'll get notified when I start streaming. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.